Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I am enjoying my cafe con leche. And good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I am the badass Buddha, Lori Monaco. Happy Tuesday. And I am broadcasting. I am back in Connecticut.
Yay!
Got back at 1 o'clock this morning. And I'm here showing up.
Those are
Popping
the
up
best
like
times.
slut magic.
Huh?
I said, popping up like slut magic.
That's it. Hola, mi gente, aquí con la Margarita. And I am drinking. Today is Café Bustelo that I am drinking. Café Bustelo. Today I had to do it different, so it's always my pinch of salt, unless I just roasted it. And today is salt in the coffee grounds and cloves, whole cloves in the coffee ground, and then you slow pour it, so it has that little hint of something spicy for this beautiful Tuesday morning. Yo soy la Margarita, your gladiator guru, and welcome, milagritos. Bienvenida. So how was everything?
It was good. The trip is long, but it was very uneventful. We had a little bit of traffic here and there in pockets, nothing major at all. The weather was, it would lightly rain a little bit, and then it would stop, and then it would rain a little bit, and then stop. So it was good. It was we were a little bit packed in there because there were more of us in the car going back. So usually on my car trips, it's just me and my kids, but we had an extra person in the car, so it made for a little bit tighter squeeze, but we managed it. It was fine, and and I'm glad it was uneventful, because like the worst part is when you're driving those long distance trips, especially when you're coming back to the Northeast. If you don't hit it just right, you hit traffic in the Northeast, and to hit traffic when you've been driving 10 hours already and you're tired and you just want to get home, and it's very frustrating. So we did not, which I'm happy about.
Yeah. I think going, sometimes it feels like it takes longer because you're so anxious to get there. But coming back to me always seems longer than going somewhere. Like we had to go to a funeral, a cousin's funeral in Philly. So we left 5 o'clock Saturday morning, and we got there. No, we left actually here 5:40 in the morning. And we got there like around at 8:45, and with one gas stop. And it was pouring throughout all of New Jersey. But coming back, we left at 4-ish and then get back to like 8:45 at night. There was no hardly traffic or rain.
That's weird.
Going, there was no traffic. Obviously, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, but there was torrential rains in Jersey.
Yeah. See, it's the opposite for me. It's the opposite. It seems like it goes by very quickly when I'm going to the destination, and then when I'm coming home, it takes longer. I think it has to do with, when you want to get somewhere. Like, I don't mind traveling. I really don't. In fact, I love car trips. I really do. I don't mind the distance. There's certain distances that I can do, and I have reached the limit of what I'm willing to drive in a day, and that is 12 hours. Like to go from here to Tennessee to the house, it's with stops. It's actually about 10.5 hour drive, but you stop for gas. I have dogs, I have to let them out, I have kids, we got to get something to eat, everybody's got to pee. So with that, technically it would be 2 stops. We just stop twice we have a full tank when we start, and then we stop twice for gas. And it takes around 11.5 to 12 hours. But it's that 12-hour mark. The 12-hour mark, if going past that, I can't do it anymore. So if that trip was longer than that, I would definitely have to stop and break it up, because it's just, it's not so much that, mentally I can go longer, but it's my ass. Like my ass really hurts. Like it's not sciatica. It's not a bad and the back hurting. My ass just sitting compressed for all that time. So the last time I purchased a massage seat, like a cushion.
Oh yes, how is that?
Well, I didn't do it. I didn't take it for this trip. I didn't take it down and coming back. So, you know what? The seat that I got wasn't great. I could have used one that vibrated more. Plus, it would have made it made it a much more enjoyable trip.
Because I was just given one, so I wanted to know.
Yeah, but but it was good. But what I needed really was seriously. I mean, with all jokes aside, I needed to vibrate more radically because I needed circulation in that area. That's the reason my ass was hurting so much, you know. So it didn't have as much jolt as I had wanted it to, you know. Leon says I use a pillow when I drive long distance. Yeah, but a pillow is not. I need the movement. That's why, like, so one of the stops that we went to, I ended up actually running a little bit. Like I did a sprint from like one area that I parked the car to let the dogs go to the bathroom. And then I sprinted back up to the gas station because I needed to really get my legs moving and going, you know? So good morning, Milagros, Nancy Green, Leanne. Good morning.
Leanne.
All right. So there's Nancy.
So I'm glad you're back. You know, there's always, I love travel stories. I think it's part of the whole adventure, the stories you get to tell afterwards. My adventures was, I went with my cousin Iritza and her mom, who's 73, and her aunt, who's 75. So Iris drove over there and partially back. So it was like freaking frat. And it was very interesting what you can take out of it. And I'm just in the back seat enjoying the show. And it was just like, they said, Iris said, I'm tired. You want to drive? I was like, absolutely not. My knee is swollen, which it was, but I still could have drove. But it's like, you know what? You got to pick your battles. And that wasn't one I was willing to engage in. I would have had a side and backseat drivers, and it would have been.
How many hours were you driving?
Well, it wasn't. Well, coming back seemed longer for some reason. Well,
you're talking about for Pennsylvania. Okay, yes, that's right. Yeah. So you guys were swapping out drivers with a 3 to 4 hour drive?
No, Iris didn't sleep for 24 hours.
Oh, okay.
And she drove to PA in the rain, in the torrential.
And that's hard, yes.
And then we get there and it's the wake, and then we go to the church and you can't hear anything. Sorry, Catholic people. So you're like, do I sit, stand, kneel? I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I'm just gonna
exercise.
And then after there, we had to go to the cemetery. And so it's quite draining. So not even, like maybe 30 minutes into the drive back, she realized she was dozing.
Oh, yeah, no, that's allowed. She didn't sleep. Are you kidding me? Oh, my goodness. So who ended up driving then?
My aunt, our aunt. Iris and my aunt, and her mother was in the front seat. And it was very funny, very comical, you know. You think at things, and anything that would have been bothering me would have went after watching that. So it was quite a show.
We have quite a show. Today is this week is the last week of taking action, and then we're going to move into September. Could you believe, like, we're at the end of? I mean, we have 2 more days of I think our show is the last day of August, and Thursday's show is the last day of August. So August went by, and August had 5 weeks. It was one of those months that has 5 like almost full complete weeks. And here we are. This was the take action month, and we're not going to end on a low note. We're going to end on a high note. Like today's conversation is, what will you do to get what it is that you want? And then Thursday's show is be a walking mantra. But we then go into September, and we sort of leave the summer and enter into the fall, even though technically summer doesn't end until summer solstice doesn't happen until or end until like September 20th, but you know, it's that season. So the September season ends Labor Day weekend, and then September itself starts into fall. And we're going to be all about gratitude. It's going to be a whole entire month of gratitude, because gratitude is so important for shifting your energy. And that also helps to get you to the things that you want in your life. So the taking action does make a lot easier when you are more grateful for the things that are in your life. So today is, what will you do to get it? You know, and we're going to be talking about not coming from a place of desperation, wanting things so bad, but coming from a place of peace and clarity. And what will you do to get it? Because when you come from a place of peace and clarity, you are very clear on who you are and what it is that you want and what you don't want. And you always align with yourself, including your moral character. You know, people who aren't in alignment and aren't very clear on who they are will do anything to get what it is that they want. And it could even mean going against their belief system and going against their moral standards and their character. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is what will you do to get it, but what will you do, and what should you, we might should a little bit on you today, but what should you do and should you not do? And so it's going to be a great conversation today. Good morning, Editha. Desiree is on. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Let me tell you, what should you do? But let me tell you something that I experienced. I was very exhausted yesterday. It was a busy weekend, to where Friday night I leave here, and then all of that. And then Saturday night, it was like Gwen, Iris, and I, it was like a pajama party. And Sunday was really intense coaching, spiritual sharing. It was it was. And then so and I know that every time I do a sacred cleansing, or I'm in that spiritual zone, I get highly exhausted.
Oh yes, it's exhausting.
So last night when I'm reviewing what the shows are and everything, and I came back here. Iris brought me back here. She left around 2, and then I ran to the store to get some stuff, and I fell asleep. And my sister said she called down to me, and I woke up and I still felt groggy, and I was like, I didn't realize I was tired, and I wasn't sleepy. I was spiritually exhausted.
Yes.
So when what will you do to get it? I mean, everything. If you go back to our January episodes, all the way up to she's talking, the Badass Buddha said that September will be about gratitude. There's people who can be kind and might carry kindness in their heart, but because they're holding on to resentment and anger and non-forgiveness, that they don't take a wonderment in gratitude. And gratitude is when you're so overwhelmed, you go outside, and the sounds of the birds chirping, the sounds of the leaves dancing in the wind, you know, just looking up and seeing birds flying, all of that brings you pure gratitude. 1, that you're able to see it. 2, that you can hear it. 3, that you can smell the grass. Hopefully somebody is mowing their lawn next to you when you need that. So when we talk about gratitude, remind yourself, am I open to it? You have to be open to new things. And by doing that, you got to purge the old. And sometimes just take in what you're seeing and do it with a smile, because a smile can lift your spirits so much more than any kind of person telling you kind words. You can be so angry and you smile and you can feel the effects. But what I'm saying is that gratitude. But when I was doing all this, I woke up and I said, this is why I was so tired. And I went to bed fairly early. I tried to anyway. And then I woke up and I still had to dip my face in a bowl of ice water because I was still puffy. But there's a price we pay for everything that we do. So why not live simply? Like she says, gratitude is simplicity in your life. Many people don't know how to do that. So we're going to do the intentions because we haven't been doing it, and I need to do it. And she's speaking to people. Good morning, Gwen Pizza. Nancy Green, thank you for coming on. We love when you guys write something. So while we do our mantra, I'm going to ask a question. That's what will you do to get it? And because there's other questions I have here, but the one thing is are you what was the question I believe? Is there something above you that you value? What is the most valuable thing in your life? I'm curious to is there a higher power? What is the most important thing in your life? And then, because every time I ask that question has a whole different answer. All right, you ready?
What is most, you have to answer, we'll have to answer it for yourself too. Let me just put this up here. Oh my God, I can't type today.
Of course we have to,
Okay. All right. So we're setting the intention for today. So yes, we haven't done that. We didn't do that, I think, in the last like week and a half, 2.5 or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So good morning. So, all right. So set the intention. As always on Viva Cafe con Leche, we are intentional. Okay. We promote it. We want you to be intentional. So set your intention today for whatever that may be and stick to it, and once you've achieved it, set another intention, but create a purpose in your day to day. Doesn't have to be complicated. It could be very simple as I just want to be happy today and I want to exude joy to everybody that I come in contact with. So set your intention and
do it in gratitude. Be grateful that you can think of something you want to do and that you have the freedom and availability and mobility to do it. That's the gratitude. People value this. Oh, I got this phone holder, but I don't like it because the one so-and-so has, it twirls. So I wouldn't have to pick this up and move it. All I got to do is touch. Be grateful right here and now. Be grateful you can breathe, you can smell, you can taste, you can see, you can hear. If you have all of that, you're the richest person I know. Be grateful.
Yeah, it is. It's all about attitude. It's all about beliefs. Behaviors follow that. We've talked about this. We've talked about this the entire year. And we will recap. That's actually what we're planning to do for October, November, December. We're going to recap everything that we've gone over since January so that we end in December reminding you about taking action and gratitude. So gratitude is actually the last piece that we're going to do that's brand new. And then the rest of the year is going to be review because you cannot hear the information enough. And we have to hear it multiple times. In fact, Gladiator Guru and I talk about this all the time, that what we've been working on this year with all of you has been everything that we've been working on with ourselves. So it's not like we're just dishing it out and saying, oh, do this and do that and not following through. There's a lot of stuff that's been going on within us. And just the fact that when Gladiator Guru was talking about being grateful and not and getting away from being angry and resentful, I had a lot of that going on this year and across the board for so many reasons and so many causes, and to have to admit that and come to truth about that for myself and ask myself why, and why is that staying in the forefront as opposed to it's a wasteful energy. It's a low vibrational energy. And sometimes not even understanding 100% why that I do what I do, but to move past it, and then come to terms with who I am and who I choose to be and who I'm still working on to be, and we are all work in progress. We all make bad choices. You know how I feel about mistakes. There's very few mistakes. It's bad choices, and there's bad choices and good choices. And I've made a lot of them myself this year. And again, the point is that we're not saying all these things, acting like we know everything and you have to follow what we're saying. We know a lot. That's why we coach. We're very good at what we do. But part of the reason we're also really good at what we do is the fact that we can be also very vulnerable and admit that we're learning just as much. You know, how many times has that happened to me as a teacher where I can't even tell you, I know we're going to get to the mantra, I apologize, but when I was teaching the anatomy and physiology classes, I mean, there was a point where I was teaching it for like 10 years and somebody asked me a question and I didn't even know how to answer it. I was like, my God, in all the 10 years I've been teaching this, I have no idea how to answer that question. So when we go on break, I'm going to look it up because I don't know. And then I learned more, you know, and that's the beauty of it is that even when you all post stuff, it's so important to the tribe. It's also important to us because we gain information and insight from all of you. Like, look at some of the things that are being said. Nancy Green's on fire this morning.
Yes, she is.
Mindset, a healthy mind and hurt, everything else will fall into place. Look, my pace is important for me. So this is really good stuff and we appreciate it. So thank you everybody for that. All right, we'll do our mantra and we'll get to talking about what will you do to get what it is that you want. All right, so here's the mantra. Say it loud and say it proud. I am a disruptor.
I am a disruptor.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am magically orgasmic.
Ole.
And I keep it real.
All day, no doubt.
That mantra is important because it's you. It's you. Think about those when again, say the mantra when you're feeling kind of blue. I am a disruptor. What does that mean to you? I am unapologetically courageous. That was probably the most important piece for me first, was to be unapologetically courageous because I had not been my whole life. And then to be a disruptor, not to be a disruptor in other people's lives, but to be a disruptor in my own to keep me in check.
And
sometimes it does disrupt others, I guess.
Well, that's what I was going to say. When you can say that without having to explain it, you have conquered major, major obstacles. Because when we were to say, I am a disruptor, you leave it at that because it is not important for you. Whoa, somebody's going to say something. So thank you for bringing that up about us, because sometimes we feel we got to explain things we say. No, you know what? Don't ask me, Margarita, questions that you're not prepared for to hear the answers or the response. You know, my mother always used to say, ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies. And I've heard other people say that, but I was raised on that. Okay? And it's true. There's people who want to bring up conversations and then get all pissy when you share your part. Like, okay, that's your perspective. This is mine. And I'm sorry that I will not say sorry when I speak with the passion behind what I say. And Iris knows what I'm talking about. We all have a belief system. Now, you witnessed it, researched it because you've lived it. Don't get upset with me when I'm speaking from a place of knowing and you can't accept it because that's your way of living. And a lot of people do that. And you know what? Yesterday I was like, I'm so exhausted. And then I said, you know what? I'm never going to stop being me because I was gifted this to be who I am, because there's people I need to speak with and to. So some will get it. My family will probably never understand or even believe or feel what I'm saying because they're my family and they're like, oh, here she goes again. Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. But if you know what you are supposed to do, don't you ever play small so that others can have a clear understanding of who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
Okay? I am a disruptor, and I can be a disruptor on both sides of the fence, and I will claim that because I can be it. When I wrote this mantra, it was everything that I am and everything that I'm gonna forevermore be. And we cannot, and I'm not talking about you, badass. I'm just saying, when you're gonna disrupt, whether you're angry or whether you're doing it for the good of all, be the fucking disruptor, because if you keep playing small with who you are in every given moment, what are you going to reach for? What are you willing to do to get what when you don't even know who you are? When you're constantly sidestepping on your own damn self, and then you want to say, well, so and so didn't. Walk your line, walk your lane. There's less traffic in there, and there's clear. The sky's always clear for you. And if somebody throws a cloud your way, you know what? Navigate through the storm and
Damn
come
right.
out on the other side.
You can do it. You're resilient like that.
What will you do to get it is, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because for every gain, you must lose something.
That's right.
So what are you willing to sacrifice in your life? Not your mother, father, sister, brother, not even your kids. What are you willing to sacrifice to get to the next level so that you can bring all your loved ones up with you? Because maybe you are the only disruptor in that family. And if you don't do it, then everybody's going to stay stagnant. You ever think about that? So go and find who you are and ask yourself, what will I do to get it? Whatever that it is, it must be something that you value, because you know what? Without integrity, without dignity, and without you being able to self-heal yourself on this journey where you're going to stumble, you're going to fall, you're going to scratch your knee, you're probably going to cause bruises, whatever it is, keep your dignity. Do it with integrity. And don't let nobody pull you back from where you came from, because you cannot achieve anything new by staying and remaining in the same place.
And the only way you can do all of that is to be very clear on who you are.
Yes.
In alignment with self. You can't do any of those things. If you've played small, if you haven't done the things that you've wanted to do, and now you're in middle age and you're looking back going, God, shoulda, coulda, woulda, you have to take the accountability for that. Well, it was this one's fault, it was that. We could blame everybody. I mean, it's always easier that way. And it's not completely wrong sometimes either. Shit gets in the way. People get in the way. But when we stand very clear on who we are and what it is that we want, we always move forward in the direction that we want to go. Yes, sometimes you have to take a pause. You know, like if you said, oh, I'm going to go and get my master's degree, and you're in your, late 20s, you got your bachelor's, you're ready to move on to your master's, you get pregnant, and you're like, oh, I got pregnant, forget my master's degree. Who says? You take a pause. Maybe you don't take a pause. But it is hard to go to school and raise. It's actually not that hard to go to school to raise an infant. It's harder when they get a little older. But there's so many people that have gone to school while they had young children. So we choose to use the excuses that we use. But there's a lot of people that just said, screw it, I'm just going to do it anyway. And they did it. I knew, and I've said this story before, when I was in chiropractic school, we have to take national boards, just like medical doctors, and they're hard tests. They're like weekend-long tests. You study for them 2 weeks in advance. Aside from your normal schedule class exams, you're studying for these things. You usually have to take extra classes to study for these things, to prep for the boards, which costs more money anyway. And there's one girl that I went to school with. She was I think she was a year behind me. She gave birth on Friday at home with her husband and the midwife, and then showed up to take her boards on Saturday and Sunday with baby strapped to her. And her husband, he was also in chiropractic school. He didn't need to take his boards that weekend. So he stayed the whole time at the school all day to assist her with the newborn. But she got special circumstances, like they allowed him to come in if they needed to, because you're in there for an hour and 20 minutes and then you can't leave the room. And so they worked it out. But who does that? How many women would have been like, oh, I just gave birth, I can't take that. She showed up anyway. So it's about what's important to you. Remember, it's important to you, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. So what will you do to get it? How many excuses have you already put out there? So now we're asking you, be clear. We want you to write this down right now. What is it that you want? What is it that you've been thinking about, that you've been writing down since we have done all this? And what will you do to get it? What could you do this week, today, this weekend to get it? You want to lose weight? What can you do to start? You want to start planning a trip for next year to go out of the country? What can you do to start today? Maybe put a little money aside, create a bank account that's just you're going to put a few bucks in every week, or take it directly out of your paycheck. What can you do? What will you do to get it? And Gladiator is right. You have to make a sacrifice. Some things to end for other things to begin. It doesn't have to be a horrible sacrifice sometimes, but sometimes it does.
Sometimes you got to walk away from everything you know, and every comfort and every person you think loved you. That's how difficult it can be. Well, we put the but I can't because so-and-so, or they need me, and without me, they can't do this, and you're dying. And you're dying, and your garden is going to shits, and nobody is tending to it, and nobody's watering it, but you're still pouring out of it. Why? Because of lack of self-love, lack of self-trust, lack of self-belief. When you are always giving to people, you're people-pleasing, you become an attention-seeking whore. Let's just call it like it is. I'm not going to smooth it out. And you do not value your existence as being important. And that's why you show up for everybody except yourself. Because, oh my God, if I do this, they're going to say I'm selfish. I don't want them to think I'm selfish, but I wish I could just take a day off. And that is the main problem. You're thinking too much. You're overthinking. You're going to fall. And then you're going to be victimized double, triple more, because then you're going to be there without no energy, without nothing. And then you're going to, instead of gaining your strength to get up like a phoenix, you're going to lay there and cry how nobody loves me, nobody's helping me, nobody's showing up for me. You cannot give with the expectation to receive. When you're going to give something to somebody, whether it's time, money, gifts, whatever, gift it away with no expectation. Well, they owe me, because now you're your worst enemy, because now you're building this scheme of collecting items, gifts, and time that you do not own. So what is it? Like, what will you do to get it? You're going to have to sit with yourself and get to know yourself. Really, everything we've spoke about since January. And I have conversations, and I see people, and I I'm a people watcher, and I'm sitting in, whether I'm in the back seat of a car or across from two other people talking, I'm watching and I'm listening and I'm observing. And you know what? Cut the fat off your life. I was going to say something, but I'm not. But what I'm saying is, what are you going to do for you? Because it's not a cute sight that I want to do this, but I can't because so-and-so needs me. Because then what are you showing me is that I'm talking to somebody who does not value themselves. So I can only pour so much into your cup before it evaporates again. Why?
But here's another thing. We keep saying, like, because of other people, but sometimes what will you do to get it? Will you ask the right questions? Will you be willing to admit to some of your vulnerabilities, what you don't know? And that's a big one. It's fear. And I don't want people to know that I don't know this. So I'm not going to say anything, and I'm going to try to figure it out myself. And if it works, great. But if you can't, don't just willy-nilly ask people and let your vulnerabilities out to people. You could say, that's where you find, once again, clarity of self, knowing who you can reach out to, that they will look upon you without judgment, that they will say to you, okay, well, I hear you. Let me listen to what you're saying. And I will see if I can give you some clarity, some information that will help you decide the direction that you want to go, or the things that you want to have. So what will you do to get it is, are you willing also to be vulnerable? Are you willing to face your fears? Are you willing to have conversations with people, or have conversations about things that you don't know about or you don't understand? And because again, that's where it all starts, like it's about stepping into that unknown, getting uncomfortable. And it doesn't have to be horribly uncomfortable. It's not like you have to step by yourself. Sometimes you can take a friend sometimes on the journey. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you'll learn that you actually have to step by yourself, but the bottom line is, what will you do to get it? Here's an example, right? So for my licensure in Tennessee, I had to fill out paperwork. I had to get background checks. I had to do all this stuff, pay money, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that's a requirement is I had to get 6 hours of a specific training on like ethics, the laws, and sexual harassment, all that stuff, right? So 6 hours in-person training, that's their requirement. You can't go online and get it. You have to go 6 hours in class. So I noticed that while I was down there, they had training, but it was like 4 hours away. So it was a 4-hour drive, 3.5 to 4 hour drive. And I had to make sure that I signed up for that training and was going to drive that far, that the training was all day. It was like 9 to 4, and then drive back. And it was something that I had to do because here's the catch. If you don't get that training within 6 months of getting your license there, they fine you, and they fine you a lot of money. And I couldn't take the risk of, I didn't know if that class was going to be offered again. I'm there in October, but I didn't know if the class was going to be offered again before the end of the year. And I had till January. I had till December 31st. So I said, you know what? I'm here. I'm grateful that the class is actually happening while I'm here. Yes, I have to drive 3.5 to 4 hours by myself, but it is what it is. So what was I willing to do to get it? I was willing to get my ass up at 4 a.m, 3 a.m, actually, be on the road by 4 a.m., go there, drive there, sit in class all day, then drive back and get home at like 10 p.m. I was willing to do that because when I looked at the bigger picture and said, I cannot afford to take the chance of not having this class when I'm actually physically there, Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is, if I was there in June, I would have been able to take the class. It would have only been an hour away from the house because it would have been in the city closer to me, but it didn't work out that way. I wasn't there. So what will you do to get it? Sometimes you have to make uncomfortable sacrifices. Was that uncomfortable for me? Not really. I just got my ass up early, but that's not a big deal for me. Okay. It's not, I had to drive far, but that's okay. But sometimes you have to be uncomfortable, like we're excited to move. But when I tell you there's a lot of stuff that has to be done between now and October 14th, including my oldest daughter's wedding preparation for that. I mean, she's preparing for that, but it's all the other extra stuff. Getting my daughter's school in alignment, like all these moving parts, things that I still have to finish, projects that I started here that have to be done before I go. So I don't have a lot of time to do this. 6 weeks, really. So what will you do to get it? I got to do what I got to do. I will probably have nights where I don't sleep that much. I will be working, getting up in the morning, doing something, working to the wee hours to do it. But it has to be done because the next transition in my life and in my children's lives are coming up.
And that's it. And you got to ask yourself, hello, David Lee, Nancy. I know I said I want to go gray, but I also cut all my hair off for it was just more of a self-love. It was more of loving myself underneath or the cover up. And it was about if I can be courageous enough to chop my hair that I loved all the way off, then I can be courageous enough to face any challenge that comes into my life, that sits in front of me, that joins beside me, that chases me from behind. There are challenges that I can go into battle and know that I will come out glorified in the end. Because if I can do this, I can do anything. So thank you for that. What is one thing
that's unique to you? See, I have no interest in chopping my hair, and I'm going to fight the gray. I don't want to go gray yet. But that's the clarity of self. See, like for Gladiator Guru to say what she said this was important to her. It was something that she did physically to get her to another level. Like she said, if I could do this, I could do anything. And for me, it's not, the hair is not the thing. For me, it's if I can move and pack up all my shit and just leave, I can do anything. So this is about clarity of self. And it could be a small thing, it could be a big thing. Doesn't have to always be a big thing. It could be if I could just walk and go hiking by myself and not ask people to go with me because nobody wants to go. And I go out for an hour and go hiking by myself, which I don't like to do by myself. I don't like to be by myself that much. That's beautiful. That's what we're talking about here.
Of course. And everybody's different. Everybody is different. How you face, it's about, are you willing to face it? And are you willing to be honest with yourself while you're making this transition? Once I cut my hair, I couldn't get it back. There's no traveling it with me to my new phase in life. That's it. It's gone. Because once you make a decision, stick to it. That's another big one. We make a decision and then we half-ass it.
Yes.
And then we want to wonder why we're miserable or put our guard up. Let me tell you something. What is the one thing you have that's like total control of? What is it? It is yourself. Punto y se acabó. It's your thoughts, your bravery, your choices. It is your life. That is the one thing you have control over. You don't have control over your parents, your partner, your children.
Right.
It is only you. And what do? We thin ourselves out from here to China and then wonder why nobody loves us. Well, how can they love an incomplete person?
Yes.
You don't even know who the fuck you are, but you want somebody to honor you for who you are when you cannot even give me a paragraph of who you are truly, what you will and will not tolerate, what your boundaries are. What's your favorite dessert? Oh, well, I like this and something. No, what's your favorite dessert? They get mad at you because you ask them just one thing. Pop it out. They can't. Now they're mad because you're asking them a question. You're forcing them to answer. Okay, now you know where they are. Leave them where they are. Sometimes you got to leave shit where you see it. Because you didn't find it because you wasn't looking for it. But you need it. And sometimes not everybody can be your VIP guest. Remember that. When something is needed, we ask, what would you do to get it? What will you do to get it? Okay, be it faith, cultivation of self, example, your health, your mental stability, and your choices. Your choices. Everything that we do it was birthed from a choice. Should I, shouldn't I? Should I, shouldn't I? I don't know. Should I do this? Am I going to like it? Oh my God, what if I'm there and I don't like it? You come back. But make a choice.
If you don't like it, then you change.
But you got to make a choice in your life. Don't make someone else make a choice so you could hold that against them, backslide into your old self, and then accuse them of forcing you to do something that you couldn't do. And that's manipulation.
Yes.
Are you that person?
Yes.
Do you blame the people around you for what you're doing? Just chimed in. Don't ask people questions you don't want the answer to, because remember, life asks death. Why do people love me and hate you? And death said, because you are a beautiful lie and I am the painful truth. Death is that answer to your facade of a question. You want to say, but was I really rude? Or was I too needy? Or I never did that, right? And then I'm going to say, yeah, you did. Remember back in 2014 when we were there, and you're like, that didn't happen. Don't ask me a question. Don't try to come to me with that half-ass, I don't believe I did that, but what do you remember that? When you know you did and you're hoping I didn't, or you're hoping I'm that passive person who's going to just agree with you, and then I'm going to say, you absolutely did fuck up back then. Don't you remember? Don't pretend you don't remember. And now you're angry at me because the truth is not always pretty. And even for me, that I'm like, boom, boom. When somebody says something, I'm like, okay, let me hold on. And then I'm like, oh, shit, yeah. Or I'm like, I can't believe I did that. I feel like shit right now. You reminded me of something I forgot. But be honest, because you can never get what you want, no matter what you do, unless you know who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
Don't blame me. Don't blame badass. Don't blame anybody for not being introduced to the true self of you. When you do that, that's when changes can occur. Don't half-ass it. You can't walk slowly to the bus stop and expect the bus to wait for you to get there. You gotta run to catch up with that bus. Well, what are you doing to catch up to your life? Because the badass Buddha said about traveling. I've always traveled alone. I've always done many of my things alone. And it's okay when somebody comes. Sometimes I don't want nobody to come with me. You know why? Because I don't want to have conversation. I want to be in my head. I want to ask myself questions and be like, oh my God. But let me tell you, this is wonderful. You got to find out what will you do to get it, whatever the it is. But make sure that it's going to add value to your life going forward and not just momentarily. And what are you willing to do to get the it that you believe you need? Then that's when you analyze who you are, where you've been, but most importantly, where you are and where you plan to go, because our plans can change like the wind. Make sure you solidify what you want by knowing what you want and then figuring out a plan as to how to achieve it. But I can't do it for you. She can't do it for you. Your mama can't do it for you.
I want to point out what Desiree wrote. It's up on the screen. Desiree says, moving back to Bridgeport put me in a position to have to ride the bus and cut my hair short so I can color it myself because I can no longer get it done. Sacrifice for wanting to live in an apartment. I feel happy in a city that makes me feel cozy because I come from here and my doctors are nearby and I can better care for my health and wellness. Now I can move forward with the rest of my vision. See, this is clarity of self.
Yes, that's
so what
beautiful.
you do to get it is, first off, you have to be very clear on who you are. Otherwise, you won't know what direction you're supposed to be going in. So Desiree, and we know we've been Desiree has been part of this tribe now for a while, and we have seen the transitions that she's gone through. And she disappeared for a little bit and then came back really strong because she needed to pull out for a while and really seek herself. Now she's clear on what it is that she wants in her life, needs in her life. It's okay to say need sometimes, but these are the things that are important to her, who she is. And then she's putting them into play to make it. Now, does that mean she'll always have her hair cut short? Does that mean she'll always do the dyeing herself? Does that mean this is the part of her journey? And she may transition. She may not. She may say, hey, I like doing it this way. This is great for me. But she's very clear on what she must do for herself now.
In this moment
to be on her path. And the clarity is important because, right, that is for her. I do not like cities. I do not like apartments. Could I live in one? I could if I had to. What is my choice? My choice is vast property, open stuff. That's me. Outdoors, pastures, that kind of stuff. Clarity of self, not suburbs. I came back last night and as we were coming back in, I'm like, I love this area, but it's not me anymore. It does not serve me anymore. This is to a person who's a city person, the suburbs looks like the country. But to me, I'm looking at this going, now it feels very closed in for me because that's not who I am and that's not who I want to be. So good for you, Desiree. And we know that she has gone through such a metamorphosis and she's still, she's come out as a butterfly, but I'm convinced that we cocoon every so often. We go back into the cocoon and come out as a different entity. And it's beautiful to see her steadfast. Same thing with like Nancy. Nancy said something that was really vital too. Nancy said, where was it? She said that she doesn't give a shit. She's like, people are always, this is what she said. She says, a lot of friends, family said I'm this and I'm that. And I always say, I don't give a shit because I'm happy with myself.
All day.
And that is huge. Because nobody can do you except you. And if we sit and blame and resent and get angry, we're only putting the focus away from ourselves. We've talked about this. I've had to deal with this myself within my own self, and decide, okay, what is serving me and what is not. That type of behavior doesn't serve me. So what do I need to do? What changes do I need to make in myself so that I am not doing that? And why am I doing that? The moment I woke up this morning, no, last night when I walked in, I haven't been here in 6 weeks. When we got in last night or 1:00 this morning, I instantly was reminded why I don't want to be here anymore. There was, the space seemed smaller. It was cluttered, and the space down there is much more open, high ceilings. There's hardly any furniture because we don't have any, but everything was a big reminder when I walked in, when we got in last night. And I was like, I said to myself, wow, I really got to pack this stuff up. And how much stuff this morning when I was getting ready, I said, I haven't seen this stuff in 6 weeks and I didn't even miss it. What is that telling me?
Yep.
What can I get rid of? And that's again about clarity. Sometimes you have to pull yourself out for a little while and then put yourself back into your environment. And if that environment still feels great for you, then that's where you need to be. But if that environment does not, then listen to that feeling inside. That is what you're willing to get. What are you willing to do to get it?
Yeah.
Am I willing to get away for a little while? Am I willing to go and work on myself a little bit more? Am I willing to learn something new? Am I willing to ask questions? Am I willing to admit to my vulnerability? Am I willing to work hard for this? Am I willing to do things that, I thought I wouldn't have to do, but I have to go back a little bit and then do again. But do not be willing to do the things that go against your moral character. Be steadfast on who you are. Be clear about who you are.
Yep.
And then go from there. That is the starting point, not below. You have to start from there.
That is so important because a lot of people keep that safety net. So they go below themselves because it's safe. It's comfortable. It's familiar. And remember, for every beginning, there's an end for a new beginning. So whatever started as such, and now the ending must come for your health, for your well-being, for your change towards a whole different direction that you want, then it must end. Because that new beginning in your life it will start, but it will just end more tragically than the first if that end didn't end completely. So who are you? One, what are you willing to sacrifice? I give up, purge, close and lock the gate to it. And what battles are you ready to head into, whether you know it or not? But are you armed enough with the self-belief, self-respect, self-trust in yourself that you know you can walk into any battle and come out on the other side, bleeding, scarred up, exhausted? So like, it's like when you engage, I'm writing a blog. So it's to engage in asking questions, right? You have to ask yourself questions and you're going to get upset. You might get yourself so exhausted that you don't want to talk to yourself no more. So then you try throwing it out on somebody, hoping that they're going to give you a different answer than what your own thought process did. Now you're going to get mad at them. So I was writing, to engage in asking questions that may lead into a debate is equal to challenging another into a battle. Now, battles can be healthy if you enter with an open mind to listen and understand the other point of view. Going into a debate with a closed-minded belief that is riddled with defensiveness will ultimately cost you. Because now you're lying to yourself and you're accusing everyone around you, right? That price is one of anger, discomfort, and a loss of a friendship. So remember, mi gente, communications must come with the understanding that to agree, not to agree, is a win. Ask yourself the why. Why am I getting all riled up defending my belief? I am not trying to take away or put anyone down. I am sharing my beliefs with a splash of passion. So I believe I must share my intellectual conversations. Why, you may ask? Because spiritual warfare is at our doorsteps, mi gente. Whether you believe in anything or not, it's there. So you must be awake, prepared in all your glory of mind, body, and soul. This means you must be living in clarity of who you are, what you want, and what road is better traveled for your destiny. So aware of your five senses. I talked about this in the beginning because we're not talking about it enough and we're not writing about it enough. And if you're not aware of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, and touching, what are you? You're not in touch with yourself. You're not in touch with yourself. So this means you enter in the five senses as you enter into a battle of hellfire. So tell me this. Are you grounded enough to hide, to burn out, to splash out the hellfire down with your holy water? Are you, or can you, or will you? Because there's going to be battles in your changes of choice. You are going to make choices that is going to seem like I made the wrong choice because it's a bloody battle. It's going to be, like I like to say, them demons are going to come out the cracks in the wood to try to prevent you from reaching something. Are you prepared with enough holy water to splash those bitches and keep forward? Because before you enter a breakthrough in your life, you will have setbacks. And are you willing to continue knowing that that breakthrough is yours and these setbacks are just those hating, jealous, vicious thoughts of yourself and of others that are trying to prevent you from reaching where God wants you? And that's finding out who you are, knowing who you are, and what are you willing to do to get, to achieve, to receive your destiny in life. You got to be present in your spirit with any choice you make. And that's what we talked about all the time. What will you do to get it? And first of all, you got to know who you are, know what you want, put your fucking armor on and go into battle, because nothing good is easy, because easy is just easy. So you're going to have to fight for what you want. Are you willing to go to battle for what you believe it is yours in that journey towards your destiny? That's it. That's all I got.
Wonderful. So let's see what everybody. So and then let's see this. This is part of it. So Nancy Green throws that thing out there, right? And then it starts. It starts the conversation. When I was talking about living in an apartment, my sister puts up, you could in Europe, very different than our dirty cities here. Desiree is saying, thank you to the tribe has made a huge difference at where I am today and going forward. Thank you all. So grateful. It's such a huge blessing to me. And God brought us together for a reason, right? And this is the tribe and the connections. So Madeline writes, once you understand that you are enough, it's a game changer. Absolutely. It's knowing self. And who cares if it took you this long to figure yourself out? The key is, don't lie to yourself. It's not about being your truth, because you could be lying in your truth. It's about asking that question to yourself. Am I lying?
But you said it's not about what? I'm sorry.
Huh? You
said don't lie to yourself, but it's not about being in your truth.
It's when we say to ourselves, "Oh, I'm walking in my truth. This is my truth." Sometimes that's the lie. Like, you have to ask yourself the actual.
Oh my God, I know. I've heard that.
Am I really, really in my truth, or am I just lying about it? Nancy Desiree says, Nancy Greer, then see, this is what happens. It starts the conversation. She says, Nancy Green, renting, in my opinion, is last choice. Hugely expensive. You have no fallback, no choice of how to design your space. You pay more than an owner with nothing to show. That's one opinion. True enough. Depends on where you are. If you don't know where you want to be right now, but think outside the box, Nancy. If you and your husband want to go, where do you want to go? There was a point in time where I went to visit Costa Rica last year with my kids, And I couldn't think of nothing else but wanting to move there. Like, just pack up and leave and go to Costa Rica. I wouldn't buy anything there. I would have rented. But the thing is that that's a possibility, and you don't know until you go. And that's why I said to Nancy, go on a full day adventure together. Do things you like. Be outside. Eat lunch and dinner out go out the whole day. Drive around. Discuss the idea of moving and where you might go, and rent, sell, whatever. But get out of the environment. You could stay in the same state. You could drive to another one. If you like the beach, go to the shoreline. If you both like the mountains, but get out and sort of see things. If there's other areas that you think you want to go and check it out, because you won't know until you're there. You get this feeling. Madeline says, I found that if I truly listen, I'm not forming anything as a response. I'm open to new ideas. Yes, that is sitting with self. And that's beautiful. Yeah. Desiree says, that's why my husband says, but I'm not happy in my space. What did Desiree say?
That's good, Nancy.
Pros and cons list. See? And this is the beauty of it. This is the beauty of the conversation, the suggestions. Again, we're not telling you what to do. We're saying, how about this? Try this. And the moment it feels right to you, if you are clear about who you are and what you want, then the suggestion will resonate with you. Say, oh, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. Or you'll be like, nah, that's not going to work for me. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean you're closed. It just means you know yourself. But as Gladiator Guru says all the time, and we speak on this a lot, when somebody makes a suggestion to you, instead of cutting it off immediately, unless you are that hyper clear, like the minute they start to suggest it and you've already gone that path and you're like, no, I'm not going down that way again. But sit to hear what people have to say, and then use discernment. Let me hear let me sort of analyze or not analyze, but feel what they just said. Let me hear it, really listen. And then I'll make my decision based on what's important to me.
You have to, it's good to listen, because sometimes we need a different sound. We need all of this. But don't have conversations when you're on the fence about what you want to do. Have general conversations, but don't make it personal, because people do like to share their opinions. As a matter of fact, I just wrote something where I was saying how I was always very opinionated, and I always had a pocket full of coins, adding my 2 cents everywhere I went. Then I had a rude awakening with myself, and I didn't like people telling me shit. And I was like, so who am I to give unwarranted ideas and so forth? Now, sometimes if you're saying one thing, if you're coming out your mouth one way and you're behaving another, and I'm catching all this and I'm viewing all this, and then I'm going to say she's full of shit. But okay, that's her battle, not mine. Unless I'm asked point blank, period. But you have to know who you are, and then have a strong idea of what you're going to do, if not a concrete one. Like, I know what I want to do. People will say, well, this, and that. Listen, this is what I'm doing. Ija? Because I don't want all that chatter in my ear disrupting my spirit, not changing my mind on what I've already decided to do, but disrupting my spirit in my now. We have to protect that at all times. So sometimes people are like, damn, you cut me off. Well, it's unnecessary what you're going to say, because then I am going to feel, why are we talking about this? I didn't even ask for advice. This is what I'm doing. But sometimes we need to listen, because sometimes we're so overthinkers and stuck in our heads that we don't have clarity. So, you got to take the good with the bad. But if you're sure, like the badass Buddha says, unless you know that you are firm, it's concrete, punto y se acabó, then you can say, you know what, thank you, but I've already started. I've already initiated the flow of my change into this new lifestyle. So, listen without judgment. Someone else's story is their truth, not yours. Yes, and that's what I just read earlier about something that I wrote. Gail. So I think we were so on point today because I just had that aha moment last night. I kept my unsolicited opinions to myself, and I think that challenge itself, Madeline, is so much more powerful than voicing out your opinion, and that's why it's like, ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies. But I don't want to say, oh, ba 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 ba. And it's going to take a lot from me because I'm an opinionated person and because I'm so passionate about stuff. And especially if you shared something with me, but now you're doing something totally different, you're going to say, right? I don't even know why people are saying that. And then it's like, So it's all about self-composure, that self-strength and everything self that you're going to say, how do you feel about that? Right? Because what am I supposed to say? Right, Lori?
Correct.
María de Pilar, buenos días.
Well, we have reached the end. This was a beautiful conversation. And again, think about this. Think about this all day today, throughout the week. What will you do to get it? And if you have not made your list about what it is that you want in your life and the direction that you want to go in, start, for the love of God already. Start. This is the last week of the Take Action month. So be here with us and just be a part of this. But we can't tell you to take care of you. You have to do it yourself. So please, let's do this together. And on Thursday, we're going to talk about you being a walking mantra. What is it that you're going to create in your life that's going to keep you moving forward? And you could write signs up on you, but being walking mantra, meaning like, maybe you are also inspiring other people. And it's not even a maybe, it's always a given. There's always going to be somebody that you inspire.
Yes.
So let's do this.
And something that you disrupt, because people who live a lie don't like the spirit of truth, even walking next to them. I've met people who said they were intimidated by me because I was speaking to someone else about an issue, and they were like, I don't want her talking to me. She thinks she's going to tell me what it's about. And so, I am very much in love with myself. I love even the fupa. I love the extra weight that jiggles right now because I know we're working on it. I love everything and leave room for change. When people say, how are you? If they ask me in Spanish, I always say, ¿Cómo está? De maravilla. De maravilla. And then in English, how are you? I'm awesome. And I started saying that when I came out of self-isolation. Did I not, badass?
Yes.
I am awesome. Because even in my darkest moments, I've always found the strength to climb out into the light. Me, my darkest moments, I was on that floor in the corner by myself. Don't forget that about yourself. You're stronger than you know. You're stronger than you remember. You're stronger than you believe. If you're going to fall in love with anything, be it you. And then start working from there.
Right. And with that, it is the end of the show. Everybody have an absolutely fantastic day today. That's it. We'll see you Thursday from the Badass Buddha. Remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente, remember to breathe into beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.